Welcome to another episode of Fabitgarage, modifying the front subframe. So, as we left off on part one, we had to make a template to close this up. So basically what I use, I just get the cardboard out of the 12-pack sodas, the box. This cardboard is nice because it's nice and thin, easy to cut. I use this quite often actually to make templates. So basically what you want to do, you want to cut a strip. You want to hold it flush with the bottom here. You want to go in the back and you want to outline it with a Sharpie. Once you outline it, you're going to cut and you're going to end up with something like this. It'll be nice and, I'm trying to make it stay there, but this is going to have to be bent here to go around there, but I'll just bend that with a hammer once I tack weld it. The cool thing about this is you make a template for this side and then you make it for this side. And once you're done, you only have to make it for one side because all you got to do is flip the template over. I'll show you. Flip the template over and you have the other side. So all you need to do is make two instead of two sets. So now that I have the two templates here, I'm going to transfer this over to a plate of 1/8" steel that I have. And I'm going to cut those out. I'm going to cut 4 pieces, 2 of each. And that should be the 2 plates that I need, or the 4 plates that I need to close this up. So yeah, be careful cutting steel in general. These cutoff wheels are pretty dangerous. I've had one come apart and hit me in the face. Luckily, I'll show you what I use. I use a full face shield that's made for cutting and grinding because I do not trust wearing just safety glasses because you protect your eyes, but you might make a big cut on your cheek and your lip, you know, so you protect your whole face. And I'll show you proof here. See that little crack? That's from when I was using Harbor Freight disc, and if you put too much pressure or if you twist it a little bit, it'll explode. And it goes wherever it goes, it's gonna go right through. So be careful. I'll show you what I use. Again, every time I show you guys what I use, I'm not getting paid by these companies. Make sure you buy good quality discs. I get this here, it's got really good reviews. I got it on Amazon. It is a little more pricey than your usual, Harbor Freight 10-pack, but again, I'm not knocking on Harbor Freight. They have some decent stuff. Not everything they sell is great, but just be careful. Buy good quality discs, because especially if you're going to be cutting a lot, because some of the cheap ones tend to just explode. So, so yeah, I'm going to transfer those over. I'm going to lay them down on a plate, mark them, cut them, and then I'll show you guys once all 4 pieces are cut. I'll probably test fit them one last time and then start cleaning the edges down to bare metal. And we'll get to tack welding these things in. What I did here, the line that was here on the rack that I mentioned in my other video that could be in the way of hitting the pan. It actually was, because it was coming up. All I have to do is bend it down a little bit, just basically bend the line down just a hair, and it'll clear. This front line here, which the NAs do not have, the NA has both lines coming out of the back. This one here, I am gonna have to move or modify. So when I get there, I'll get there. But I'm gonna keep going as far as having power steering. So, but yeah, so I'm gonna get to it and see you guys in a little bit. Okay guys, as you can see, I have the 2 big pieces marked. And then I have the 2 small hairs. Here's a little trick. When you're cutting something that has straight lines, mark the first piece and then use the straight line that you're gonna cut anyway to cut the other piece. That way you're saving yourself some cutting, because once you cut right here, you're cutting basically 2 pieces at once. Also, I watched a video a little while ago on YouTube of a guy that was doing fabricating, and he had a huge sheet, probably the size of this table, and he needed to cut a piece, and he cut it right in the middle. He put it right in the middle of the sheet, the stencil, and cut it. I don't understand why people do that. I always cut it on the edge. you know, you start cutting your pieces as you go so you can save the steel. If you cut it in the middle and then you need a piece this long, now you cannot use that piece. I always cut everything on the edges and save the middle, and just, you know, cut it as you need it. And then also, instead of cutting one piece here, one here, cut, you know, try and use as little room on the sheet as possible. So yeah, I'm gonna get to cutting these and I'll show you guys the finished product. I also wanted to just show you guys, a lot of watchers might look at this and be like, oh, why is he using a rusty piece of steel to fix that? This is just surface rust. As you start fabricating and getting more knowledge about metals, and you will understand that many people throw metals away that just because they're rusty and they think it's just junk, and scrap people will come and pick it up. If I find steel like this on the side of the road, I stop and pick it up. Everything I build is out of steel that I either got for free or found on the side of the road, or someone gave it to me. Or buying steel is very expensive. Yes, it's nice to be able to go to the steel supply place and buy nice, clean steel to weld. If I'm doing something really nice, if I need it to come out really nice and I don't want to spend a lot of time cleaning it, then I'll do that. But most of my projects, I just save up steel. If I can get it from anywhere for cheap or for free, I will just pick it up and I'll just save it. And I have a whole scrap load of steel, all shapes and sizes and colors, in the back, that if I need to make something, I go up to my pile, I select what I need, and I have it basically in stock. So as you can see here, this will clean up fine. This is just surface rust. Once I make all my cuts, and this is, you know, freshly cut, then I'll just clean off all this rust. And by the time I weld it in and paint it, you won't even notice this was ever like this. So I just wanted to, you know, throw that out there, because a lot of people might think that every time you make a project that you have to cut, grind, weld, you have to go to the store and you have to buy fresh steel. Steel's expensive, guys, especially nowadays. So if you can reuse steel, reuse it. If you have a sheet like this and you're gonna cut 4 pieces like I am, save this piece. You're gonna need it eventually. If you're gonna be fabricating and making things, you're gonna need it for something. So don't throw it out. Trust me. And that was the whole point of putting them side to side like this. Basically, all my scrap is just this here. Just 3 little pieces here, which I probably won't be able to use that for anything. So I'm basically using 90% of this piece here, instead of putting 1 piece here and 1 piece here, and then wasting the sides on both sides. So be smart with how you cut pieces, and you have a lot of extra steel for other projects, which means you're saving a lot of money. And as the title describes, it's a budget V8 Miata. So we're gonna try and keep the budget as low as possible, but just be smart with your steel, and you're gonna save a lot of money. So let me get to cutting. Okay, we have our 4 pieces. See what I mean? A little cleaning up, and it's just surface rust. So now we're gonna clean up the paint on the subframe where we're gonna weld. We're gonna place these in place, test fit it, and just do a couple little tack welds just to hold it in place. And once I'm happy with how it lines up all around, then I'll just fully weld it. So, okay, we have our first piece tacked in. You can see here. That is this piece here. Here's how the back looks. As I said, I had to bend that a little bit. So basically I just tack welded all the way up, and then when I got here, I put a clamp here, bent that, and then tack welded. That way it'll hold that shape. So this side's here. Now I gotta put this other piece here, and then tack weld that. But I wanna show you guys something on this side here. So you see how this is pretty flush, and obviously I'm gonna weld it all, but you see how this is a little bigger than I need? That's okay, that's how this was too. This was actually probably a 1/4 inch high. You tack weld it in place, and then you just cut it flush, and then it'll look just like that. And then you can fully weld it. So don't worry if you cut it bigger. You should be worried if you cut it too small, then you might have to redo that piece. You can fill up a big gap with weld, but I would rather not. I would rather have it cut just right, so that way you get a really good weld. But yeah, I'm gonna do the same to this side. Cut it all flush, just like here, and then finish tack welding it all around, and then I'm gonna work on that piece there. But as you can see, another thing, I also like to put my grounds on, obviously, nice clean metal. I usually put vice grips right on the clean metal and then put the welded ground right on the vice grips. Because sometimes these clamps that come with the welders, they don't clamp it hard enough and you end up getting kind of a crappy weld because you don't have a extremely good ground. So, but yeah, we're doing all right. I'm gonna keep going here and see how it goes. Okay guys, so here's the side that was high. I cut it from this side here, flush, and then just welded. So don't worry if it's bigger than you need. As long as it's not too much smaller than that you have to replace your piece. Bigger is fine, because you can always cut it down. So now, let's get going on all the other ones. Would you look at that? All plated. Well, it's only tack welded, but it came out pretty good. I've only welded about halfway, so it's pretty much just tack welded in places. Show you the other side. But it's all closed up. I mean, the welds didn't come out too bad. Nice penetration. So next step, weld it completely all around. And then I still have to do the two circle plates to block that off, but I believe I actually already have a couple circles that'll work there. But yeah, give you a top view. I'm gonna fold this down so you can see better. That's that. Plenty of room for a 302. So let's get to welding, and then we can start working on the front mount. Well guys, the welding is done. It came out really good. Give you an up close. Weld it all around. I didn't even grind the welds, I just finished welding. Show you the back. Here's the back. So it came out pretty good. These spots here, I didn't miss it. That's just where the bracket is from the factory arm. I just put a little bit of weld there just to strain it a little bit, but that's how the factory wanted it, so I left it like that, didn't close it up, so it can drain water. But yeah. I'm gonna put this down. Look at that, all closed up. A lot of work, a lot of welding. So now, probably just gonna wire brush all the welds and temporarily just spray some primer on the welds, just so while I'm working on the rest of the subframe, it's not just sitting here rusting. So next step, I might have to remove that steamer rack out of the way so I can fabricate my mounts. And I don't know what the next step if we're gonna work on modifying the rack or making the mounts. I'm gonna have to test fit the motor again and see where we're at, but I'd say the hardest part is done because this was a lot of work. Just cutting, welding, and making everything fit, and just it was a lot of work, but it was worth it. I think it came out really good for something that was done at home. Again, the welds are decent. I'm not a professional welder, but I think for someone who did it at home, they came out really good. So stay tuned for part 3. Part 3, it's either gonna be modifying the rack or probably both, doing the rack and the 2 mounts. So also, if you guys are watching, if you can go ahead and hit the subscribe button, I would really appreciate it. I'm trying to reach 100 subscribers so I can change the channel name to a custom name. That way it makes it easier for people to find. So if you guys can help me get 100 subscribers, that would be awesome. And once again, I appreciate anybody that's watching, and see you on the next one.